and recap our last session that we had. Our 4 individuals here became a team during the last session. The only way to earn citizenship into Titan's Fall was to defeat their opponents in a combat to the death and earn that right to cross through the iron gated threshold that would take them into what is considered one of the single most powerful cities in Arafan, as one of the most influential regions of Arafan, as the highborn families of 5, and we're going to learn some more about them today as our team gets indoctrinated or introduced to the expectations of being citizens within Titan's Fall. Whether or not they stick to that, well, that's their choice to make. But where we last left off, our 4 survivors of the match were introduced to a very interesting person who had enforced the rules and rights of the competition by consuming the Duergar, who was clearly cheating and invoking and overriding the spell of the glyph warding to prevent spells. Somehow he had done that. When she dismounted, she introduced the team, or when she dismounted from her Sheldrake, she had introduced the team to the other dozens of surviving competitors. The great Iron Hall gates had swung open, and she flourished in the direction of the gates and merely said, "Welcome, new citizens of Titan's Fall." And with that, you can hear the roaring crowd in the background, the energy of the conclusion, this being the last day of the season of light, and soon to begin the oppressive season of heat, a very long period of blistering long days of 130-degree temperatures, hot winds, desert storms, the weather gone crazy, mad with change and pollution and corruption from the great calamity that most people don't even have a slight memory of. As the doors swing open, you watch as the rider of the Sheldrake begins to swagger in the direction of the double doors, which seem to lead into a great stone hall. As all of the crowd of competitors, you can see orcs and Goliaths and Duergar, some high elves and some halflings and Arafanian humans and nomadic humans, the occasional orc or half orc, all kind of commingling together, either in a state of recovery or their own kind of mindfulness as they begin to walk through. You can even see or sense that a couple of them have suffered permanent injuries that were not repairable. A missing hand, missing finger, a partially missing foot. See one halfling in particular who's hobbling along with her companions as they make their way into the Iron Hall. As this procession drifts and the sound of the crowd fades, this is actually your first introduction to the beginnings of, well, as you look around this space, there is a very diminutive looking male, maybe, hard to tell, bit of an androgynous appearance about him. She is wearing spectacles. Their spectacles are pointed down on the nose. Very much refined skins of lizard and amphibian embroidery, hemp cloak kind of strewn back behind she, and looking down through the specs at all of you, you now get a more definitive as his voice begins to kind of echo through the chamber. "Well, don't keep us waiting. Come in. It's time for you to learn your proper place in the Citizen Ward Come in. Just because you know how to fight doesn't mean you know where to take a shit. So please, come in and gather about. In the very center of this chamber, you can see these glyphs emanating up from the floor. As his hand waves over, a major illusion appears in front of you and swirling around you as the illusion of Titan's Fall is spread out all around you. The 5 concentric wards on all the different mesa-like plateaus swirling about, the airships moving, the arcane towers like pulsing as people are teleporting to and fro the different wards. You can see these huge bridges expanded and over these other wards that you can't quite see. They look very much deep in color and hard to see for sure. The Citizen Ward is a concentric ring of buildings, adobes, submerged stone buildings, and imagine partially embedded in the ground, partially skyscraped up, almost like apartment buildings, just kind of haphazardly stacked on top of each other. Well, this is your immediate concern. This blue zone we call the Citizen Ward. Here, until you earn the rights otherwise, is where your wards will allow you to go about as citizens of Titan's Fall. Here, it is a particular family that manages this ward, like each family does. Now, the Master Highborn, Rayburn, sits at the head of the Council of 5. His family manages the High Ward there in the center. And as he points at the center, it's darkened, and it's kind of like a cascading violet color, almost as if it's intended for you to not quite see what's there. But the only way that you'll ever be in that ward is if you carry a family's permission or crest allowing you entrance. Sometimes other families can issue you a warrant, but other than that, if you're caught in the Highborn Ward without permission or pass, you are summarily executed on the spot. So I warn you, stay out of there if you're not supposed to be there. Clear? And you watch as the crowd kind of nods its head, but they're all so fixated on this massive representation of the city, their first taste of the magic and the grandeur of this place. It's mostly rumored to people that don't live here, so it's just kind of, the crowd is just fixated on looking as all the competitors look and stare, wondering at expectation of what's next. I'm still getting used to 3 screens. Bring this up. Now, Master Braybone is in charge of the High Ward. And in the High Ward, his word is final as long as the council agrees. Know that we are a city of councilors, and these council families have been in charge for generations. So please be mindful. As far as you are concerned, Chalin Avahost is in charge of the Citizen Ward. Her family has been in charge for many centuries and is very influential in this ward. The second ward that you might want to visit, if you can seek or be granted permission, is run by the Deep Hollow family. More particularly, sitting at the head of this family, her first name is Nikki Deep Hollow. She is in charge of the Harvest Ward. Now, the Harvest Ward typically slows down and retreats to the subterranean warrens to produce food and other things that we need to keep the city going. However, during the season of dark and during the season of light, we are often generating the wind farms that collect water throughout the period. It's also in this place that we store all of our water facilities as well. The third ward is known as the Trades Ward. Now, this family, known as the Tarak family, Damoda, he is currently in charge of this ward and sits at the council like the other two do as well. This ward is designed specifically for craftsmanship, buying and the trading of specific goods, although the Citizen Ward does have its shops and marketplace as well. They do tend to go underground during this time of the heat, but they're there. You just have to find them. However, the Trades Ward is specifically designed for the production and creation of all manner of goods that are not only traded within the city, but often traded to other regions as well. And you can see illusionary, like, billowing clouds of smoke, like, kind of like coming out from that warded area, that district, which then clears to the fourth ward, known as the Iron Ward. Here, the city guard seek their training. The armed forces of Titan's Fall seek their training as well, and their inclusion in the Great War along the Shattered Collar and the Great Frontier, where we do battle with Sut and those foul forces that seek our demise. I would not ever recommend being caught in the Iron Ward, for it is being run by Mahaman Domin. If you do not have permission from him directly to be there, you are summarily executed on sight by the Ward Watch. With that, the center of all of this is run by Master Rayburn, the head of the High Council and the Center Ward. I've already explained the limitations there. Now, each one of you, this is when he flourishes to a series of small doors that begin to open around you. And this is your introduction to some rumors that you've heard as individual altered slaves that appear to be halfling in size begin to come into the room, each carrying with a single arm. The other arm's been removed, but in the crook of the one arm, there are small leather satchels in a row, and their mouths are sewn shut. One eye is missing. One eye is left open. You can see the rumored bypass feeding tube hole that is in their neck. They are unable to speak or make a sound. They just quietly shuffle in and amongst the crowd of contenders. One of them shuffles over to the four of you with 4 small satchels arranged on its arm. Now, please, take a satchel. Each one of you gets one, and then I will explain its contents to you. And so, yep, go ahead. And the halfling slave is sitting there with the 4 satchels hanging off the crook of its arm.
Tara will just grab one haphazardly, just snatch one.
Okay, pull it off.
I will go last.
I shall take one before they do.
Okay. So Harrow and Grayson.
So then I'm not going last. I'm aiming to go last.
So I'll say, Dara, you take one. Harrow, are you taking one?
Yeah, I would take one immediately.
Okay, Harrow, you take yours.
Harrow's not squeamish.
And I'll say both Grayson and Somni, you kind of both hesitate equally as long. This bothers you a great deal for your own reasons. And I'll say you both reach for a bag at the same time, wondering at the hesitation. Somni, you grab one, then Grayson, you grab one.
What is this person wearing?
Basically a simple skin-like tunic, a lizard skin tunic that hangs from shoulder down to kneecap, and that's it. That's all they're wearing. Covers their body for the most part, exposing the one arm, the 2 good legs, the one eye. There is no body or facial hair visible at all, almost as if it's been completely like removed with intent or on purpose. Give me a medicine check really quick.
I'll poke one in its good eye.
Hey, I'm proficient with that. 22.
You gather that wherever they keep these individuals, there's a concern that maybe disease or other contamination is possible. So by removing all the hair, it limits lice and other critters that can crawl into them, since they're not really capable of taking care of themselves. So this is part of that alteration process that you've heard out in the Badlands and in the Bracken Wastes and in the Stonewood about how the greatest consumer of the slave trade has always been Titan's Fall. The very essence of how it exists pretty much depends equally on the slave trade and the augmentation of these individuals and how they're incorporated into the economy of Titan's Fall. Now, please open up your satchels, and inside you will find your citizen ward.
Oh, I'm gonna do a terrible thing.
Okay.
A terrible idea. I know it's a terrible idea, but Gray doesn't know that yet. I'm gonna try to shake this person's hand and cast in their hand Druidcraft to make them a flower as they leave.
Are you doing this deceptively? Yeah, give me a deception check. And for most people that may not be familiar with my roll system, the higher you exceed my DC, then there's a possibility of advantage or disadvantage based on the low or high end of the DC. So you'll see me do a lot of like overlapping checks sometimes. All right, so what'd you get there, Grayson?
I have no addition, but it's a 19.
Nice. Natural 19. I like that. Go ahead and give me sleight of hand with advantage.
It's also a 19.
Okay. With everybody else's passive being relatively low, no one really notices you do this. However, as you do this and you hear the individuals speaking out amongst the audience, it's droning off behind you. The slave that's now holding the druid casted flower immediately drops it after seeing it. And you watch as its head turns, because you're not really sure if it's a he/she. As its head's turning, you can see a single tear coming out of its good eye, and it seems to kind of slump with its head down back in the direction that it came from.
I'll immediately cover the flower and stomp it with my foot.
Give me a perception check, please.
Yeah, just
Somni, give me a perception check.
Roger. Okay, let me roll that. Incoming. 16.
16. Unfortunately, you never really saw. Well, if he dropped,
I didn't see it fall. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I
so
didn't
seeing
see her
if,
make
yeah,
it.
I'm okay. Yeah, you didn't see her. You're not sure where it came from. But I'll say you suddenly see a flower on the ground, and you kind of put your foot over it and cover it before anyone else sees it, and you just kind of stand there stoically, like, you know, your head back.
And I'm obliterating it under my foot deceptively if I need to roll for that to try and.
Nah, no one's really
destroy
paying
it.
attention to you guys. They're all fixated on the satchels. Grayson, give me an
I make
insight.
another one out of spite.
Give me an insight check, please.
God, rolling fire tonight. 18.
18. You're not sure if it was appreciated or not. It definitely got the individual's attention. You don't really feel much malice coming from Somni as much as concern about someone seeing it once it's on the ground. Which kind of lends to the crowd around you. This is a pretty brutal and advantageous crowd. The crowd itself is quite malicious. They just survived a fight to the death, and they just assume pick anybody apart if the opportunity shows itself. So if all of you will open up your satchels, look inside, you will find your warrant. It's a metal disc with the Citizen Ward emblazoned upon it, which is essentially a copy of the family's tower crest with the Citizen Ward emblem on it. Please be sure to have this on you at all times. If you are caught in the Citizen Ward without it, you'll be immediately jailed, fined, and then brought before the Court of Judiciaries to discuss whether or not you even belong here. So know that we take it very seriously if you do not have it. Also, there are 50 Titans Fall water tokens in your bag. All citizens are guaranteed this at the point of accepting citizenship. Also, you will note that we require that the first 30 days of your stay, that those that you compete with and yourselves must remain in residence. This is more of our protection and your protection as well. We do not tolerate spies. We do not tolerate infidels. We worship Telona here. You're not prescribed or expected to, but know this: any other pantheon uttered in this city, summarily executed, without trial or consideration. Know this, and know it well. We have not existed for millennia because we are weak and incapable. We have existed for 1,000 years because of our firm grip on this place, and we have kept it safe for those who wish to participate in what we do and in our citizenry. So know this: the Watch, or the Warden's Guard, or the City Warden Guard, the Highborn Guard, there are many different organizations that keep our streets safe. Be mindful. They respond quite swiftly and brutally to the violation of our rules and our laws. The Citizen Ward does not prescribe a curfew. However, if you're out at all hours of the night, and others are not, you are always under the watchful gaze, and you watch as he points up to a glowing orb that's kind of hovering in the very center of the stone room, and it's slightly pulsing. And know that we watch quite often and quite closely. For we know the High King's suit is always looking for leverage and an opportunity to bring his foul existence and his followers of hate and distrust into our realms. And by the way, if you ever come across any of those that worship pantheons that we do not allow here, you merely have to let the wardens know, and they will take care of that for you. We definitely enjoy those that help us enforce what we all should equally believe in. Now, with that, the last remaining item in your satchel is a key, a local map of the Citizen Ward, and the name of the establishment that you will be residing in for your next 30 days while here in Titan's Fall. And as the four of you stare at the script in the leather satchel, it says the Iron Spike Inn and Tavern. We have many, many places of entertainment, places where you can drink and eat and spend your coin all that you want within the Citizen Ward. It is self-contained, managed by the family with a firm and understanding grip. Is one of the more younger members of the family that's currently in charge of the Citizen Ward. She is a unique individual, but I wouldn't recommend crossing her anytime soon. Now, with that, your initial inauguration into Titan's Fall is complete. Before I let you go and explore the streets, Do any of you have any questions for me, please? Now's the time. Pip, pip. No? Oh, this is a very studious group.
I have a question.
Where do we find the inn?
Somewhere amongst the streets. I'm sure you'll find it on the map. If you can kill someone, I'm sure you can find the inn. Yes, you, the scary-looking dead fellow. What can I do for you?
Yeah, it's very funny. I came here to study the arcane, or continue to. Where might I find someone capable of teaching me?
We do have local warrant offices strewn about the Citizen Ward. Merely find one, fill out a petition, or create a letter of warrant, petitioning your cause to one of the 5 families, and perhaps they will allow you into the High Ward. Other than that, that's the only library that we have access to here. Is in the High Ward.
Fine.
Good. Now that all the questions have been taken care of, Mistress, if you please, would you allow them access to the main streets? The mysterious Drake rider with her long hair down past her shoulders nods towards the individual. She makes her way over to a series of metal doors, maybe about 8 of them, wraps on the center of them, and all the doors swing open, and you're immediately enveloped with the sound of a busy end-of-day metropolis that is moving back and forth in front of you. You watch as this huge lizard-like creature walks by, just burdened with all manner of satchels, furs and skins and other accoutrements just kind of spread all over its body, being led by what could only be described as a small Araphanian child. Hurry up, Will. Let's go. She's tapping on the reins as this massive 2,500-pound beast is clumping along. You watch as all manner of Titans Fall citizens are passing in front of you, the dust billowing out, the first bits of the heat kind of creeping in at the same time. And then waiting for you are the slave-like halflings that delivered the satchels. They're now all holding a single tray with a huge pitcher of water on it. And it's hard to believe that there's that much water anywhere that they can merely offer you a drink on your way out. The creature takes its one good, or it's got a friend slave next to it that's pouring, and the other slave is holding. They seem to work in tandem, their eyes coming together almost as if they're focusing as a tandem group. Once again, the weakness in the individual, but if they work together, they manage. And one by one, all of you now make your way through the door as you enter into the proper area of Titan's Fall, the main street known as the Weeping Eye. You can see a sign hanging and just kind of like metal sign clacking, as this seems to be a center point of this particular section of the ward. You can see a 50-foot wide thoroughfare going off to the right and off to the left, completely surrounded by buildings of all manner and shape, of stone and mud, all kind of like haphazardly slapped together. You watch as somebody leans out of a 3rd-story window and empties a bucket down onto the street. At the same time, you hear a clattering noise as one of the halfling slaves has inadvertently dumped the tray with the pitcher of water onto the ground. You watch as this heavily plate-mailed individual comes over to where this halfling has dropped the platter and pitcher. He reaches down and picks up the halfling squirming in its grip, recognizing the warden-like script and markings on the plate mail as possibly one of the Citizen Ward guards. well, that's the last time you'll be fucking doing that. And he throws him up into a very tall container. And you hear this grinding noise coming from it. And you can see these tails whipping about as these small raptor-like creatures just pulverize the halfling to nothingness. And you watch as a small chute near a series of buckets on the backside begins to eject meat and bone and other remains into that bucket. And then you watch as another halfling slave comes over, picks up the bucket, takes it to another metal sled and sets it on there. And you watch as the sled is now going off and collecting where other random buckets have been placed around and picking it up, putting it on the sled. And you hear the city ward go, ha ha, yeah, you go and feed the harvest ones now. Maybe there you'll be more useful as fodder and fertilizer. Don't have to deal with you anymore, you fuck. And goes and joins the other 4 city wardens as they kind of disappear off into the crowd. Well, I certainly hope that all of you
Just
enjoy.
lean over towards Harrow. I think I just became a vegan.
Yeah, Dara is trying, like, everything is tense. She is trying so hard not to just
Finding
go
anything to eat.
like, kill them for doing that.
With that, you hear the Drake Rider.
Hero is experiencing a much more muted reaction.
The Drake Rider looks at all of you. She kind of scans the crowd and she's given this oratory about, I hope all of you enjoy your first 30 days here. It'll be interesting to see how many of you, manage to the end of 30 days. The numbers aren't always that great, but the ones that do, they tend to be the most, how shall we say, interesting. My name is Pharaoh, and I serve the house of the Citizen Ward. So know this, and know this well. If you and I ever meet in the street, let's hope it's you buying me a drink, because the alternative is not going to be pleasant. Good luck. And she flourishes her hair and puts her helmet back on and begins to walk back inside the stone chamber that she came from. You guys are now in the main drag of Titan's Fall. You've been indoctrinated, given your citizenship, given your place of residence for the next 30 days. It's early evening. It's at least 3-4 hours until dark. It's starting to get warm and hot. The season of light is definitely fading. What would you all like to do?
Dara's kind of looking at the map. She's going to kind of look over to whoever's nearest to her from the group and just be like, where are you staying?
I mean, you're all 4 cloistered together at this point.
Yeah, I'm just saying if we're like, are we all staying in the same
Notice, I
place,
suppose,
figuring
that
out.
the iron spike that they mentioned.
You find Somni going through his gear.
Okay.
Well, I'm heading to the Iron Spike. If y'all want to go with me,
I'm
sure,
not
whatever. And then Dara's just going to go to the Iron Spike, see if anybody tries to follow and go
Can
with her.
everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
We can hear you, Harrow. Can you hear us?
Okay, I think I might be on a
Yum
pretty
just
significant
crashed.
delay.
Yes, you
Turn
are
off
very
your
delayed.
Twitch stream, Harrow, and watch through Discord.
So with that, you guys.
Well, I just
while
shut
going
off,
through the gear, I will follow the half orc.
Okay, so you and Dara are.
correct?
yes.
Okay.
You
Yes,
and
Dara's
Dara.
half-orc.
You and Dara begin to make your way down the main thoroughfare. Dara, you have the map out. Go ahead and give me a survival check. And since you have the map, go ahead and give me. Well, you don't know the city, so yeah, just give me a regular check.
But that was a 19 on the die, and that'd be a 21.
About a mile or two down this particular, the Weeping Eye thoroughfare that you're on, there's a specific key that looks to denote the Iron Spike Tavern and Inn. So yeah, it's about maybe 2 miles down the direction that you're currently walking. And you look to see Somni following. Harrow and Grayson, what are you two doing?
Also following D&D Beyond crashed when I was trying to get the name of the place we were staying at in my notes.
Gotcha.
So I was going to suggest perhaps we try to find this place first, but it seems like Dara's covering that. So following in her trail and looking around and not doing a very good job of looking, confident like they belong here. Just like, oh, look at that. Oh, that's a dead person.
And I'll say, as the four of you are making your way down the thoroughfare, you can easily pick up little smatterings of conversations as you walk by, right? Oh, look, newly minted citizens. I bet they got a lot of coin. Yeah, they look like they've been through the fresh grinder. Oh, they're just so hoity-toity when they first get here. And then at some point you hear another group, well, they're not born here, so they're still shit to me. Make sure you keep an eye on those. And this kind of goes on, but as you get closer to your destination, the conversation changes a bit more to casual conversation about, the oncoming heat, things that are changing as normal, smatterings of the conversation about the frontier war along the Shattered Collar, and you hear the excitement of someone muttering, oh, I can't believe my son's going to be going and joining the frontier wars. Mother's not going to be happy about that. And they kind of walk by. And then you finally catch up to the small child that is leading this huge creature, just burdened with all manner of mercantile goods of all sort. And she's like, come on, Will, we got to hurry. And, the beast kind of picks its pace up a little bit, and they end up pivoting down a much narrower street, and then you lose sight of them, which brings you to the point where you didn't even realize you've been walking the 1 to 2 miles. You're now standing in an area that's more like a circular junction in this fairway. The fairway itself has got the big sign that tells you where you are, and then you could see another metal sign hanging from a 5-story building that says the Iron Spike Tavern and Inn. And more importantly, it says Iron Spike. It doesn't say Tavern or Inn. It just denotes itself with this heavy image of a metal iron spike. And then it says in big it just says accommodations right below it. And then right below that says no fucking vacancy on it. So you get the feeling that, probably some winners might be staying here. But in this circle itself, you can see shops and market stalls. You can see the front of inns or taverns that aren't inns, almost like places to eat or find food. There's one particular building that catches all of your attention as huge amounts of, well, it's either cloud or smoke. It's hard to tell with the changing of the light, but these doors are wide open. There's a very small individual out front kind of trying to encourage people to come in. And above it, painted all across the front of this, is a series of colorized fungus and mushroom and lichen, and it's all in and it's all spelled out in a single word called the Fungus, where it's Funguss, and you're watching as people are spilling out, and you see this little individual kind of smacking people on the shoulder as they come out. They're either covered in something, it's really hard to tell from this distance, but this seems to be this jumping off point in the thoroughfare, as there's other parts of destinations pivoting from here. This seems to be a collection point of a great deal of activity. For you, Harrow, you look over to see, as explained, there is a warrant office nearby. There's many other types of small shops and stalls. You guys are now, the four of you are now standing in front of the Iron Spike. What would you like to do?
First of all, I would like to say that before we had gotten here, as everybody was looking at us and saying things like, oh, I bet they have coin and stuff. If they look well off, I don't bother dealing with them. If they look like they're not someone who could cause me trouble, I flare up a little firebolt in my hands and turn my head to them.
Give me an intimidation roll.
Just to, like, watch them scatter a little bit.
Yeah, give me an intimidation roll.
Not tremendous, but adequate. 13.
13. You watch as a small group of Araphanian children that have been pestering you the whole time you've been marching down this direction. You notice them, and they're kind of like...
Children.
Yeah, they're kind of like getting together and trying to work up the courage to get close to you and, begin to try to have, begin that heckling game that they've been playing with you. They watch as you do that, and they scatter away from you, laughing and giggling, although a couple of them look over their shoulders like, kind of worried about what you just did. But you can also hear smatterings of laughter of some of the people walking by. Then the door opens, crack. Two people come walking out, walking right by you, kind of look at the four of you up and down and shrug their shoulders and keep walking.
What other buildings are around the Iron Spike? What do we see?
Give me a perception check.
Something that I'm not particularly terrible at. Yeah, 21.
21. The stalls seem to be almost like random goods that are being offered, from foodstuffs to hardware to artistry and other like small trinkets and knickknacks, almost as if people are trying to sell their stuff to stay alive. There is one particular shop that catches your eye. It's called the Bloated Goods. It's a rather large 3-story building. It seems to have quite a bit of inventory laid out in front of it. You can see people kind of picking through it, going in and then coming out. It looks to be very much a general goods store, like all these odds and ends that you might need. You also see the warrant office not too far from that. You can see what looks like other residential buildings that are kind of cloistered all about here as well, either 3-4 stories high. But most of the people that you see coming and going seem to be coming up and out or in and down. So there might be more subterranean activity here as well, but you can't quite make it out from here. You do see another shop that quite simply says Apothecary across it, but it's spelled APOTH-KARY. You get the feeling that that might be either an alchemist or medical shop of some sort. You also see kind of smushed in between the bloated goods and the apothecary, you can see what can only be described as the fisted male. And it's this sign that's like this, and it's like a gauntlet. And the fingers, the metal fingers, like open, turn like that, and then close and turn back. And it seems to be a series of weaponry, armor, and other types of goods as well. Other than that,
fisted male, you say?
Oh yeah. I hate you.
How do you spell male in this context here?
M-A-I-L.
That was
You
my next
sick,
question.
Just checking.
sick people. I love it.
Is it a brothel? I mean, what are we looking at here?
An equal opportunity brothel. I'm in.
Yeah.
And every now and then, as you're standing there taking all this in, you watch as that metal sled that was carrying some of those discarded buckets, begins to move through this space. You watch as two of the halfling slaves walk over to the fungus and pick up 2 buckets that are placed out front and put it on the metal sled. And the big raptor-like creature begins to pull it forward. But, you can also see strategically placed in this area is another container familiar or similar to the one that you saw in front of the stone ward that you had left the arena. And this container, every now and then you see like this small raptor-like creature poke its head out, and then its tongue kind of comes out and it pokes its head back in. And you watch as somebody comes out of the fungus with some scrap garbage perhaps and kind of F's it up into the container, and then you just hear and the raptor tails kind of like spinning around. As you get the feeling this is their way of maintaining garbage in whatever manner it might be, whether
When you say raptor, you mean the dinosaur type raptor.
yeah,
correct?
but
Is
much
that- okay.
smaller based on the tail. It could either be a sand raptor or shale raptor. You're not really sure from this distance because you can't see the entire body. Although the one did poke its head up, so I'll let you guys make a nature check to figure out what kind of raptors they're using.
Ric Flair, the nature
That would
boy.
be that would be a 24.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, 10.
15.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Not so
20.
good.
So for Grayson
Oh,
and
yeah.
Harrow, you recognize them as sand raptors. Their light coloration, the gold flecked eyes, the fact that they weren't very big, and sand raptors usually don't get very big. It's the shale raptors that usually get a lot larger, kind of like the domesticated version that's pulling the metal sled through the area and then out back on the main thoroughfare to continue its job of picking up these buckets.
Are they kind of like the little Jurassic Park compies?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, probably the only thing that's a little bit unique about them, shale raptors are their hides are an amalgamation of shale and like skin. And it's that combination that is really like why they're so sought after both for domestication. I mean, they're often harvested for their skins, their bones, their organs, their meat. Imagine them the ox of this, particular world where they're very ubiquitous, very common to see. They're often the main heavy labor. The other creature that you saw that the little girl was pulling was not a familiar creature to any of you. You're not really sure where that came from or what it is. It's definitely some type of lizard in nature, but no clue because none of you have ever experienced something like that type of pack lizard before. So all of you are standing out in front of these buildings and the iron spike. What would you guys like to do?
Do we know where all the halflings come from? And is it predominant halflings that are the?
So far that you've seen, and you
Do
get
we
the
know where they come from? Are they all the same looking? I mean, how does that,
how
how
me-
are we articulating that?
give me a history check.
Something I am not terrible at. 18.
18. You do know that most halflings are nomadic in nature. They tend to travel around a lot. They're usually quite the easy target of the slave traders, as well as the slave masters that will often forage during the time of heat to refill their stocks back in their home territory. It's also a matter of affordability. They tend to be the cheapest and low-cost solution for those that can't quite afford more particular types of slaves. These
Do we
ones,
know why the arms are missing and why the eye is missing? Do we?
I
know
mean,
that?
you know about the rumors and basic lore
Yeah.
of the surgical artificer that works for the slave lords. And
Okay.
that's definitely his handiwork. It makes sense. You would also know a little bit about, through your organization, your Templar organization, that one of the big challenges of inciting revolution and rebellion is that this new artificer has been excelling at its craft of causing these augmentations, so it makes it almost impossible for these slaves to be able to revolt because they literally have to be taken care of, or they die. They can't feed themselves. They usually have minimal ambulatory abilities. They can't speak. Usually one eye is always taken to make it difficult for them to operate and focus and manage themselves. It's almost a matter of low-end labor that no one else wants to do.
And how many cart accidents happen per year because of the lack of depth perception? Are the insurance rates high here?
They just get new ones.
Yes, I'm sure the archery championships are not very hard to beat amongst the halflings.
So you guys are in front of the Iron Spike. What are you doing?
Dara's just opening the door, pushing through, and going straight in to figure out what to do. She's not
Okay.
really one for hesitation.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll follow as well. I don't want to get here, get caught up gawking at everything. I'm trying to fit in.
Fair enough. Grayson.
Trying to fit in with your giant like raven mask.
Yeah.
Fit right in.
Hey, this is a city of eccentrics.
Grayson and Somni, what are you two doing?
1 second. How tall is Haro?
Let me check to make sure. I think I made him reasonably tall. I put that in description. I'm still trying to figure out how to navigate D&D Beyond. Wonderful system. I'm only 5'9".
You there. I'd have a word with you.
You hear Somni say that
Is
before
it
you
more
enter.
Is it more important than a night's rest or a good clean bed?
I think 5 minutes of your time is something you can give for me helping you out.
Fine. Go on. Speak your mind.
Simple, really. I would hope that you will keep how I spoke to you between us going forward.
Never mind that. Roll in here. And for the moment, at least, we must share each other's company. It does me no good to cause any problems for you. And whilst I am keeping your secrets, I suppose that you would be well served by not speaking up too loudly should I cause a fuss.
Then we have an accord.
Accord we have. Now to the beds.
And with that, I'll walk to whichever place I see who would probably give me the key to my room.
Yeah, that's what Dara's doing. She's speaking
Yeah.
with whoever the main person is to sort that out.
Heading over Dara way.
Grayson, you watch as Dara, Hera, and Somni enter the Iron Spike. What are you doing?
I just like stomp my foot down and make a bunch more flowers. Go out that way just to send really conflicting signals. Skitter inside and close the door behind me gently.
Okay. As you close the door, you hear, "What the fuck is this? What the? Hey, you, get over here and clean this shit up. What? I'm telling you, if those things keep shitting in my yard and this shit starts growing, I've had it." And then there's like an argument, and then like you hear a small voice, "I don't know what you're fucking talking about. It's just flowers. It's not shit." Well, flowers just don't grow out of nowhere, and it just kind of drifts away from you as the four of you head into the Iron Spike. The Iron Spike is quite the interesting establishment. You can see a series of concentric stairwells that go up and go down. It would seem that the above levels are mostly abandoned at this point, and the main floor that you're on is more of like a catwalk that's about 10 feet wide, as another series of stairs that go down. But as you lean over the rail to look down, You could see it probably goes down another 4 or 5 levels. You're not really sure from this height. Each level is well lit, and each level appears to be an extension of the one before it. The one you're looking down on looks like a rather massive, common like tavern room. You can see where bone and ivory furniture have been assembled and put together all about the space. There's tables and chairs of all matter of creation. You can see also a very like circular like bar that you're staring down into, and in the center of it you can see the massive remains of a fossilized foot of some sort, whether it's dinosaur or some other creature, you're not really sure, but it seems to be hanging and holding and shelving with the little inlets and rock protrusions from the fossilized foot of all the like different decanters and drinks and things that can be pulled down. It seems you're staring down at what could only be described as a bar. You watch as a very thin, wispy barkeep looks up and he kind of leans back and says, "Ah, yes, more citizens, please. Come down. I have your keys. I need to make sure you are who you say you are. Please, come down."
I'd like to use divine sense as I'm walking down,
Okay.
focusing more on the people I think will be there often, meaning slaves, waitresses, employees, whatever, people that work at the irons. I'm not particularly concerned with the patronage. I'm trying to determine good and evil for the people that work here, and if there's anything that sticks out in particular.
I'll say you pick up on the barkeep. He seems to be a person of, I don't really give a shit. Either you have coin or you don't. It's hard to read him. However, you also look around. There are no slaves here, which kind of lends this to the concept of affordability. Has a lot more to do with slavery than just the innate nature of it. There is a mix of patrons that you just kind of don't discern or look about. However, there is a small female, Araphanian female, kind of behind the bar, and she's cleaning. She eyes the 4 of you as you come in and make your way towards where the barkeep is, and her eyes are very much piercing and focused. Her intent seems to be one of hate, and you pick up a maliciousness about her, not because she's innately evil, but just this sense of foreboding and this kind of more of these blood-sucking citizens that care nothing for the people, that kind of feeling of concern about who you are and the inevitable conclusion that perhaps you're evil instead. And that you kind of pick up on her face and the way she's staring at you, because this was your focus, Somni. You're focusing in on this. But there's a very hint of an inner light, and you focus on that broadcasting out, and it's coming off a medallion that she is currently keeping hidden underneath her reptilian tunic, and it glows a familiar color to you, color that you would not have expected to see here. Her emblem of Sinfoneus is clearly hidden underneath that tunic. And she just goes back and she's like washing out a cup, and she puts it down, just stares daggers at all 4 of you as you make your way up to the barkeep. "Ah, good. Can I see your citizen wards, please? And I can give you your keys." "Oh, good. You are
yes.
citizens.
Mock-ups.
I do not need to know your names. I don't really care. You'll probably be dead soon anyways." Begins to hand out keys to each one of you. "I've put you on the 4th subfloor down below. You have a single common room for the 4 of you as instructed by the Master of Ceremonies. But Everything you need is there: beds, tables, chairs, places for you to store your goods. But be mindful. We do promptly lock and close down our facilities at midnight, as we tend to, well, let's just say that during the time of heat, if I find an open door, it's not going to be good. But anyways, so be mindful. Is there anything I could get you, perhaps?
What kind of alcoholic beverages do they have here?
Give me a perception check as you kind of stare past the innkeeper at the massive fossilized leg behind him.
I will gently raise my hand
That will be
in
an
the
18.
background.
Okay. Yes. Yes, what is your name? Yes,
Me?
you.
Gray?
Why
of
are
the
you
Tavern.
raising your hand? Are you a
I
student?
was waiting my turn.
Oh, very well. I can see that even idiots make it through the arenas. Yes, Orc, what could I get you? And as you look past him, and past his snarky comment at Grayson, you see bottles of Bracken whiskey, within the protrusions. You can see waste wine in great tilted bottles as well. There seems to be other things that you don't necessarily recognize. You see the familiar nomadic gins that are very popular amongst the nomad tribes as well. They seem to have a mix of wine, hard alcohol. You're guessing that maybe the glass containers with like kind of like a yellowish, foamy type of liquid is this thing that you've heard of called ale. Never really tried it before. It's an interesting drink, and its fermentation process is quite interesting as well. You've heard that it's usually fermented in the belly of a shale raptor that's being butchered, and that's where it gets its specific hard bite. And it almost has like a hallucinogenic effect as well. You get both drunk and, depending on the person who drinks it, possibly affected visually, a visual stimuli as well. But all manner of these things are hanging all over the center of this bar-like area. So,
So she's not, I guess, into like fancy stuff. She would just turn to just be like, "What's cheap and effective?"
oh, would you like some of our Titan's ale?
Sure, we'll try it.
You watch as...
I'll take 2.
Oh, 2 big spenders. You watch as he reaches back and he pulls a massive glass container off the shelf and sets it in front of you. You then watch as this metal-like spigot is held up against the glass, and it just on its own connects to it. That'll be 1 coin, please.
All right, so I'll hand one of my coins over,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna take one of them and slide it down to Gray, and just be like, "You're not an idiot."
He takes the coin and goes, ah, thank you. And you hear a noise like a thunk underneath as he kind of puts it inside something. You're not really sure what it is, but it makes a metal kind of hollow sound when he drops the coin. Please enjoy. And he pulls out glass tankards, sets them on the bar in front of the 4 of you.
Thank you, but our names didn't matter to him, so his insult doesn't really matter to me.
Fair
Good,
enough.
Don't listen to it.
So what are you 4 doing?
I've had enough water to sustain me from that display of opulence back near the arena, right?
Oh yeah, all of you get the feeling that was a show of power and a show of what to expect. and you're barely even scratching the surface of the city at this point.
Yeah.
That's pure
I mean-
wealth. To be able to have a pitcher of water that those slaves were pouring for you was pure decadence, pure wealth. Somebody was sending a clear signal about the wealth.
Yeah, and I don't think that as somebody who's mostly lived out in the wilderness that I am used to overindulging in fluids, so I'm kind of like shying away from having a great deal more. As I look about and this person already gave us our key, correct?
Yes, you each have a key to the single common room that you're sharing.
We're all sharing one room. Oh man. Yeah, I'll look about and say, if anyone should need me, I'm going to be studying up from before for my conversation in a few hours with that person across the street. As I beckon towards the warrant office.
Good luck. Try to stay attentive. Tap, tap, guidance.
I would recognize this, correct?
Being a dabbler of the arcane arts, you feel the magical incantation kind of flow into your shoulder.
Do you want anything for that?
No.
Fine. I nod and go to the room.
Okay. So you begin to make your way down to the 4th level subroom. What are the rest of you doing with your time?
I will be enjoying this newfound drink known as ale.
Okay.
That is fascinating.
Okay. So you fill up a glass mug. Grayson and Somni, what are you two doing?
Staring at the half orc
So
to see
we
if the
really,
tusk is
really
still
messed.
attached.
I still have my tusk, thank you.
Mhm.
She did not knock it out.
It's a little loose. You actually watch as she goes to drink it and she kind of taps the glass against her tusk. And you watch it kind of wiggle a little bit as she begins to drink and down her ale.
Mm.
Oh, do I see this?
Yeah, the three of you are
You
like,
should be drinking it with me. I got you one. You better not shirk that.
No, I would never insult a lady by not accepting her
Thank you.
generosity. Yeah, no, gentle sip. But if I see the wiggle tooth, do you want me to fix that? I can fix that. Pay you back?
Oh, that would be great. Thank you.
Impromptu dentistry. I will attempt to pull down the lip and like push it back where it's supposed to be and cure wounds to see if it fixes it.
okay. Go ahead and
We
roll.
just got really close there.
Go ahead and roll. Somni, what are you doing with your
You
time?
love to see a minimum healing 4.
Okay. The tooth kind of gets a little firmer, and you feel the roots kind of dig into the gum, and you're like, you even see a little bit of the broken piece of tusk kind of grow back a little bit from the effect.
Wow.
That's the kind of reaction that you want. Yeah, a gentle wow. What's your deal? Just pointing at Somni.
Do you often heal people you've just met?
Yeah?
Interesting.
Do you often watch people you just met suffer?
Did not appear to be much suffering being done here.
So far, but then it could get knocked looser and it would really mess up her smile, and she has a really nice smile, and also that would hurt really bad to get your tooth ripped out of your face.
Those are a lot of assumptions for things that are not happening.
Dara's visibly shocked. Somebody said she has a nice smile. She's like, doesn't ever receive compliments.
As the three of
I
you,
mean,
as the three of you are,
yes, yes. However, I mean, I don't usually see people's teeth get ripped out, but I also don't usually tear people's throats out, and dislocate people's shoulders and rip their arms off, or throw halflings into meat grinders with raptors. A lot of
Oh.
firsts today.
Where have you been living? You haven't seen that before?
somebody's like, where has she been living?
Not here.
The
Welcome
young
to
girl
your
steps
world.
up to the three of you. Well, are you just gonna stand here and gawk at your ale? Can I seat you?
We'll take a seat, thanks.
Good. Move along. And she goes back to behind the counter and she's back to like cleaning dishes, and she walks over and hands some empty glassware to another patron, another table. The three of you drift over to one of the like bone, like the base of it's made out of bone, and a very thin sheet of shale is like placed on top as a table. The chairs are ivory and bone with skin stretched over to accommodate the ability to sit, but they're more like stools than chairs. Three of you sit down, looking across the table at each other, begin to enjoy this strange ale that you're drinking. Grayson, you sipped. Dara, how much did you drink?
Oh, I've been steadily sipping. I don't know, more than Grayson. Maybe like,
Okay.
if we've just been talking, maybe like a quarter of it.
It's a weird, bitter kind of taste with a hint of like sour to it. It's bubbly when you drink it, but after you drink it, you feel this weird burning sensation kind of down the back of your throat and into your chest. Give me a con save, would you?
I knew that was coming.
Gray's absolutely sitting on this chair with little feet like dangling because they're not very tall.
She has pretty good constitution. That is a 16.
16. The hint of burning is probably the alcohol after effect as you drink this ale. It's a really unusual flavor, taste, and as you drink, your vision literally blurs momentarily as you kind of focus, and then you blink a little bit harder, and you begin to realize that any faster and this stuff's going to hit you pretty hard. That whatever this is, it's well made for the single purpose of getting you quite hammered, and you kind of pick up on that.
You might want to take this slow, Gray.
Does it not taste very good, and we don't want to like make faces and be insulting, or?
Whew. It kind of hits you.
Perhaps another thing you're not used to.
That sounds an awful lot like a challenge.
Ooh.
I'm gonna drink like a quarter of it.
And the taste and flavor that she described is clearly there. Although when you feel it run down the back of your throat, it's more of a cold, like it's weird. It's not hot and spicy. It's more like a cold numbing effect when you drink it. Go ahead and give me a con save.
Natural 2023.
Nice. You feel the beginnings of the blurry effect, but they quickly go away. It tastes great. It's refreshing. It's nothing you're familiar with. Back in the Warrens, they would never serve this type of beverage. Usually in the Warrens, it's typically wine and water are the choice of the Drow and the High Elves. But it's interesting. It's got some bite to it, but not really the kick that Dara described.
No, I mean, I'm not used to it, but there's nothing wrong with trying new things. It's actually kind of tasty.
Indeed.
All right.
Harrow, you finally make it down to the fourth subfloor section of the Iron Spike. There are a series of other doors on this level that go around the catwalk. And leaning over the rail, it looks like it continues even deeper into the rock-like subterranean section of this building. As you kind of look over, you see an Arafanian kind of look up, and he kind of smiles at you, showing teeth, and dips his head back in over the rail that he was looking out. You turn to see the door and the key number. The number 3 is there, and the key has the Cyrillic 3 like emblazoned into the metalwork. There's a heavy padlock on a double latch door that is made of that very similar thin sheet of shale and metal, kind of like almost kind of like a bank vault door, but light as opposed to heavy. And that's what you see. What are you doing?
All right. Once I'm down at my door, I'm going to attempt to use my key to open it up and check inside.
Okay. The key fits in. It clicks away. The latches come apart. There's a place for you to hang the lock on the side of the door jamb. It clangs against the metal. The door easily swings inward, seeing the hinges and spring loads on it kind of carry the weight inward. It's well crafted. Stepping into the space, you could see 6 beds, 3 to the right, 3 to the left. You can see similar furniture that was described earlier back up in the tavern section. Everything's made out of bone, ivory, reptilian, lizard skin, and other strange kind of skins as well. There's a strange hollowed out section in the corner of the room, and you can feel, like as you put your hand up, you can feel the circulation of air being pulled into the space. You get the feeling that whatever's managing that, this is how air is getting down into these subterranean sections. At the end of each bed are stone lockers with no keys or locks, but just a simple open lid and latch system for you to store your goods inside of if you wanted to. Very simple accommodations, but I mean, for you, not, kind of fancy, because it's all newer. It's all clearly recently made, or at least feels recently made to you. You're not really sure what that means, but the room itself is just carved out stone. I mean, it's it's 50 foot wide by 30 foot deep room. The ceiling is maybe roughly 10 feet high, and in the very, as you step in to take all this in, you watch as very small globes drop from the ceiling and kind of light up the room for you. Your arcanic-like nature picks up on the very simple, kind of arcane nature of these globes. And then as you're about to close the door, stepping into the space, you can see floating in the center of the hollowed out area of the catwalk, where you can look down and look up to see the floors above and the floors below. You watch as this familiar looking globe that you were shown back at the when you were given the information about the city, it just kind of casually is floating up and down this open space. And then you look to see it stop, it turns, and then floats down, and then eventually floats back up again. So what are you doing?
Harrow is, I think, definitely trying not to be overwhelmed. He came here very assured of his own power and intellect, and the arena did little to assuage him of that. But he's like gritting his teeth, realizing how much more commonplace magic and immense power here is prevalent, as opposed to in the wastes.
Yeah,
where, the fact that he had earned this for himself made it special.
And you get the feeling that the machination of this use is just commonplace. These things that you have to fight for to understand out in the wastes and the nomadic lifestyle that you've lived in took years. They're using it here almost like it's a throwaway good, or just a piece of common everyday items that can just be used at a whim of when they need it. Once again, the arcane wealth of this place as a casual use of it is pretty it's imposing to you. It's impressive. If this is what they consider casual, God knows what they're hiding in the very center of the city.
That said, as much as it is impressive, Hare has not come all of this way to be deterred or put off by some fancy display of light. So he will crack out his leather-bound spell book and open it up and begin practicing and reciting his rituals and going back to memorizing everything. The first ritual he would like to run himself through, of course, would be bringing back a familiar
Okay.
who he felt it would not have been allowed to be used in the arena.
Gotcha. So that'll take you about an hour, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So you begin to summon your familiar. What are you summoning?
I think that I wanted to leave this up to you a little bit. I think Hera
Okay.
would have brought in something that he was like comfortable with out in the waste. I had sort of pictured maybe like a squirrely little like pterodactyl thing, something kind of mangy and thin.
And I would say that's would be accurate for you because the bracken wastes that you familiarize yourself with during your travels, these small winged lizard-like creatures called bracken wings. They're pretty small. They're quite robust and can handle themselves up to a point. And I'll share with you their stats. I'll send you a stat for it after the game. But this is something that you've called for before, and it's it's small. It's not a huge creature by any stretch of the imagination. And for the next hour, you're beginning to formulate and postulate what that looks like, and you're trying to bring it from that ether and into your material existence over the next hour. For the rest of
Alright,
you back, I'm sorry, go ahead, Howard.
I call this creature, by the way, Gristler.
Okay.
Of
I
the
like
Bracken
that.
Wing.
Nice.
Gristler.
Okay. For the three of you back up in the tavern, it's now steadily getting busier as each time the door opens, people come and go now. The end of the day seems to be finally waning. Every time the door opens, there's less people moving about, and the light's getting slightly dimmer. It never really ever gets truly dark, but you can always tell that it's fading from day into what's best called as night, based on how it turns more into like a dusk and kind of diminished light feel in the outside space. What are you guys doing?
Little bit of chatting. Go kind of look around and just ask. So, what are you gonna do here? So I guess both of them, just kind of looking in general.
Okay.
I'll look to them.
Why do I always have to go first? I feel like that's a trend.
Look back at Sumney. Just stare.
Okay, well then I'll volunteer, and maybe this can teach you a lesson about sharing. Because sharing, as
Sharing
they say,
is caring.
caring. Mhm. Well, I'm here with a specific mission in mind. But as Somni here has pointed out, maybe it's not a good idea to tell your entire life story to people that you've just met. I know
I
that
bought you a drink.
and I fixed your tooth.
Okay, deal. Fair. Yeah.
I mean, frankly, I would have done that anyway. But
See?
regardless, don't take advantage of my kindness. People see it as weakness, and it's very easy to just kind of walk over it.
So why are you here?
For reasons? Why are you here?
Reasons.
Good chat. Good chat.
Just just
Drink some more ale.
lean in real close over the table. Do you want to play 20 questions?
I am not one for answering.
Is it blue?
questions.
Is it purple?
Sometimes.
Do your
I
reasons
hate you,
involve
Kevin. I hate
killing
you so much.
somebody?
Enough. I will retire for the day. I thank you for the drink.
Guys,
Sami
watch.
will excuse himself from the table and
Okay.
go to the room.
So you start heading down below to the subfloor, leaving Dara and Grayson at the table. What do you two do?
See, that's fishier than what I was doing. I was just not going to give you my whole life story. I wasn't just going to leave the table when we were trying to have a conversation, though. If there's anybody that we need to keep our eyes out on, it's that one.
Is a little stoic, but I mean, aren't we all?
No.
You're an exception, that's for sure. Where are you from?
She's from, let me pull up my backstory.
Can I just say I love these jams in the background?
I don't have access to the jams. The bot has never worked for me.
No.
Because your name is not Cher.
Do you believe in life after love?
I do.
One question: do you believe?
You don't have
in
to,
life after love?
dwell on it too far.
Sometimes.
Oh, no, actually,
I do.
DM, where am I from?
You hail from the Stonewood, and you come from the Warrens of the capital city of Stonewood. The Warrens themselves are based on families and family units that reside down there. Most of your Drow heritage has been spent down in the Warrens. You come from a particular wealthy and well-to-do and influential family, and the capital of the Stonewood is Frozenheart, which is the major city that even now, with this first day or the last day of the Season of Light, is beginning to make its 25-mile ascension up above the heated atmosphere, where it will remain for the remainder of the Season of Heat until the Season of Dark.
Okay, so Warrens of the capital city, and the capital city's name is Frozenheart.
Correct.
Okay, I forgot that I left that open in my backstory so that you could fill it in, and
Yep.
I forgot to write it down. Also,
Sorry,
my
didn't-
other notes. No, my other notes are across the room. Anyway, I would fill you in on the fact that I'm from Frozenheart. Then
Is that a pretty sheltered place?
I get that a lot. Do I give off that impression? I feel like I give off that impression.
It's not necessarily a bad thing.
If you
We
are
should.
the world weary, maybe that makes you more open to things sometimes. But there is that whole expression about teaching an old dog new tricks. So I think it kind of balances out. I don't know. Yourself?
Waste. We should save that conversation another time.
Sharing is caring, but I also won't push it.
It is getting late though. She's gonna look around, notice the lights are dimming. Should probably find her room, find the others. And
So
she'll finish the rest. She's gonna finish the rest of her drink, whatever's left.
Okay.
I rate.
So, Dara and Grayson, give me another con save, please. And Somni, you make it down to the 4th subfloor section. watching as that globe is moving up and down that center barren space between all the floors. The door is slightly open, and as you enter in the space, you can see Haro is already on a claimed bed, and he is kind of interacting with this small winged lizard creature that is kind of like on his shoulder, and he seems to be interacting with it. Grayson, Dara, would you roll?
13.
Okay.
Different dice, another natural 20. 23.
Oh, okay. Grayson,
Oh,
Don't
you're
believe you.
yeah, Grayson.
I'm kidding.
You're holding up pretty well. You're not really sure what all this talk about this ale is. So, there's still like half of a glass container that's left, even after you both finish your first mugs. Dara, you're hammered. It's not a familiar feeling for you. And out of the corners of your eyes, you're watching as bursts of light are kind of, and it's very off-putting. And your vision is coming and going in and out of focus. This is heavy stuff.
Gray, is that you? Are you making lights and stuff?
I'll look around for lights and stuff.
Just the
there and
yeah, just the tavern
There.
lighted sections and the people busily moving about and drinking and enjoying. It's now a full tavern. This tavern floor is filled with people jostling and moving about. I'll say your passive is high enough. Dara seems very heavily affected by what she's drinking.
Okay. You seem to be what the kids these days call hammered. Would you like me to help
hammer. I
you?
can use a hammer. I'm good with a hammer.
Okay. Would you like me to help you find the room? I don't have to.
I got it. I got it.
Okay. I follow her and helicopter mom behind her. How
Okay.
tall is Dara?
6'4".
Well, you're literally a foot taller than me. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
she's a big girl.
okay. We're gonna go this way and just helicopter mom and try to stop her from, I don't know, falling down 4 flights of stairs or something.
Fair enough. I'll say
Pop into a wall.
Dara, give me a deck save with advantage because Grayson is helping you down to the room.
That was better. That was a 17.
Okay. I mean, you struggle time to time. The stairs are a little bit tricky. The two of you are gracefully or not so gracefully making your way down these series of stairs to where the room could potentially be. Somni and Harrow, you two are in the room now. Somni, you've entered the room in time to see Harrow interacting with this creature. What are you two doing with your time?
I simply ask Hyro telepathically, what have you named this thing?
Am I able to return the thought telepathically?
Absolutely.
You can't see my slight grin behind my mask, but I do let out a bit of a mental chuckle. I've called it Gristler. It's been a companion in those times when I haven't been able to find fellow travelers in the waste.
Indeed.
And you? Who have you traveled with, my friend?
Kings, queens, and everybody in between.
In between a king and a queen, I suppose that would be a consort of some sort.
Indeed.
Fine.
I
I do
my
think that
own
we might be of
reasons.
some use to each other while we're in this place. Would you agree?
I do.
Very well. I don't anticipate things going too far wrong when I see the warrant on this after I get a night's rest, but should they prove troublesome, I might request your help. with a favor owed in return, of course.
Look, wizard, I am sure we will do many things together.
Good enough for now. As I continue like running Gristler through its paces and such,
And
doing
with-
like little circuits around the room.
Yeah, and with that, you hear the door kind of like smack open, and you can see where Grayson is helping a very sloshed and kind of clumsy looking Dara into the chamber. Under one arm, she's carrying the remains of the half containerized ale, the glass mug in one hand. Grayson is like, she's kind of like following behind and keeping Dara from falling over, and successfully managing to get Dara into the space. All four of you are
Probably
now.
initially barely see Gray.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Gray, like,
I'd like to use divine sense on the 4 here, or the 3.
and there's no save on that, correct?
There isn't. No, I
Okay.
just know whether they're good or evil.
I would say, Grayson, go ahead and describe for me the overall permutation of your mood and your attitude. I think that would give Somni the
Yeah,
insight.
what would your aura tell me?
Yeah, what would your aura tell Somni?
I mean, ironically, their aura is a little gray. It's a little
That's fair.
not, yeah, it's a little not extremely one direction or another. But if you're just getting also like a vibe check, I know that
Yeah.
divine sense, I know that it's written a certain way, but I also usually in my game give a little extra, so I'll give you a little extra. Is like not, generally not like aggressive towards people around them, a little like grayish neutral, but I feel like you might see little like flicks of like red through there, but majority neutral.
And so no one's coming out with just like bright red crimson flashers, right?
Dara, how would you describe your aura for Somni?
Dara is very angry. Dara's not necessarily angry, and I mean like evil in like a malicious way, but she's also gone through a transformation of her blood, like magical transformation of her blood. So I'm not sure how that would translate to an aura. She's kind of like it's described, I guess, in the materials like a monster seeking monsters in a way.
Yeah, that's a
going
good
through the
way.
hunter's
I like
things.
that.
So,
Yeah, that's a good way of
that
describing
would
it.
probably affect her aura, but I wouldn't necessarily call her evil. She kind of has her own principles that her hatred fuels her to kind of live by.
Excellent.
And as for Harrow, I would say that it kind of feels hollowed out. Like there's just this deep weariness combined with like a tired desperation and clawing for something. Definitely, I'd say probably neutral on the eviler end.
And for you, Somni, are you doing this
there's
in a?
definitely some darkness there.
And
Oh, you see me just boring. I am staring daggers, if that's the right word,
right.
into each person individually.
Okay, so I'll say that Dara and Haro and Grayson, you pick up on this very single-minded focus that Somni is having right now. He seems very much intrigued, but very focused on each one of you, as if he's just taking a mental note for his own understanding of these three individuals that, oddly enough, the four of you fought quite well, balancing each other's skills amongst your opponents, focusing and taking what you've developed, even as, I mean, you're not total strangers with each other, as you had to sit through the period of purification, a ritual that's intended on bringing you to the point of being ready for unarmed combat. And you for the last 3 days it was no food, it was mostly water, and kind of that purification process of individuals who are forced to work together, whether they want to or not. But oddly enough, Somni, these feelings that are emanating from these three are not all that dissimilar for some of the internal struggles that you've gone through to finally get to this point and work what you need to begin doing for your warrior king. Soot was very specific on his intent of what you need to focus on, but he also made it known that the challenges here are going to be great. So how you come about this may require you to kind of use these individuals to get to what you need to get to. And your sense of them feels not safe, but not dangerous at all. There's no sense of danger here as you focus on them. And their skills are very precise. Grayson appears to be someone good at what they do. And Grayson's ability to focus that healing effect and balance it amongst the group like it occurred was incredible. Their skill there. Dara's strength, the physicality and focus she brings, even that rampaging rage-like effect that, you know, probably shifted the balance somewhat because it allowed you to focus and do what you do best. Harrow clearly has absolutely no combat skills whatsoever from a standpoint of unarmed contribution, but you recognize intelligence when you see it. There is a sharp wit, there is a hunger, a curiosity in Harrow that you're familiar with. It's not all that dissimilar from the reasons why Templars take the oath and do what they do to service those for the greater intent of both their warrior kings and other sponsors that send Templars out into the wastes to unofficially accomplish certain tasks and certain deeds. There is a warmth here. You're not familiar with it. There's a sense of warmth. The one thing that kind of nags at you as you're taking in this representation, that girl back up in the tavern with that white, blue, glowing emblem that just shocked you to see something so obvious and quite dangerous.
And tell me what that is again to me, to Somni.
To Somni, it is a talisman of Symphoneus.
And Symphoneus is to me
the goddess of hope and light. This is your pantheon, your
yeah
goddess that your Templar order is struggling to bring back into existence through your fealty to your warrior king, Sut. And to further his cause, to weaken the Araphanian Highborn Council, to weaken their ability to bolster the frontier and to finally find that way in through the frontier fortresses and monolith-like defenses that have made up this war for the greater part of 200-300 years. Some have even lost count, as many thousands have perished throughout the centuries. And Sut is on your mind. It's just amazing that you've already picked up on something that's seemingly so dangerous and so, if you could sense it, it's possible that others could sense it as well. It's both reassuring and confusing at the same time.
When Somni gives us this ocular pat down when it's my turn,
I love it. Ocular pat down.
I just make deep eye contact and just stare and try to not blink before he does.
You've already blinked like 5 times. His eyes are glossy. He doesn't even have to blink. You don't get the feeling that this is something that's necessarily bad or good. You remember seeing the stoicness in his approach to the combat when you guys were in the Citizenship arena, there is a kernel of something here that is worth searching for, but it's buried under this very rigorous, structured kind of existence. Which
Oh, in that case, just say to Dara, it's like, a small lizard that's trying to look a lot more big and impressive than it is. You just have to stand your ground and like frill up.
Can
Dark.
right then, when Grayson says like a small frilled lizard and you just gotta frill up, can Gristler fly by and be like,
She's talking about me.
Gristler.
Drunk Dara is just gonna look over and be like, "You got a problem? You want to fight?"
Drunk, belligerent Dara.
Yeah.
She would be a belligerent drunk.
Can I intimidate with a stare?
You could certainly try.
I'd like
Can I
to.
counter intimidate?
Yeah, no, you could.
I
Yeah,
would
we
love.
should. Let's roll it
So
off.
Grayson and
Can we have an
Haro, as you're
intimidation roll
sitting,
off?
yeah, Grayson and Haro, you're sitting and you're
Calculate
watching
it.
as Somni and Dara are having a staring competition. So Dara, roll
Absolutely.
intimidation, and Somni, roll intimidation.
All right, I'm just so you know, I do get a +8, so I have a 21.
Nice.
Yeah, I realized about halfway through.
That was a 19 for me.
I realized about
I have a
halfway
good
through my
one.
staring contest that I am winning because he's staring at Dara, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, 21. Versus
Okay, so
19.
Dara and Somni, it's not about a winner or
Yeah,
loser.
for sure.
I will say the two of you are so stoic, and the fact that Dara is hammered at the same time, Dara, you kind of hiccup a bit from the effect
You
of the
should get a
drinking.
+3 to her roll for that. Like
The
give
two
no
of you-
fucks alcoholism.
Yeah, the two of you matching your
Give
gazes,
no fucks alcohol.
and the two of you match your gaze equally, and then you both kind of turn and kind of like wink. All right, all right. Recognizing some similarity there.
And then I'll
So-
turn my
Game
gaze
recognizes
to,
game.
Then I'll turn my gaze towards the other. Do I know their name?
Yeah, you would know their names during the purification ritual. That's the time that you would get to know each other to a certain degree. So you know some things about each other. You know each other's names. You know,
Okay.
you know some basics about each other.
All right, then I'm gonna throw that same stare at Grayson.
Okay.
Just a kind of don't test me.
Do you want to try to intimidate at all, Grayson?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Just
Okay, give me fresh rolls. We'll see how this goes.
that's going to be a 12.
14.
So, as equal that you and Dara felt in your stoic stare, you can't help but crack a slight smile as clearly Grayson's kind of like bubbly energy like attitude kind of creeps into your skin a little bit, and you kind of go, okay.
Yeah, these may be my people.
So, is there
These may be my
anything
people
any of
indeed.
you would like to do before you settle in for your long rest? I mean, you do have a couple hours. And so go ahead. Go ahead, Dar.
Mine's more of a getting ready for bed thing, but if somebody else wants to actually do something, go for it.
I gotta be honest. If the half orc puts on pajamas, it's gonna be fucking cool. Footy pajamas.
I think Harrow is just going to, after he feels comfortable, that he's brushed up on all his lores sufficiently. Just drop my dice. Is going to disrobe down to his skivvies, but keep the mask on
Okay.
and tuck in for the night.
Does
Okay.
Caro have sex
is-
with the mask on?
I mean, there's only one way to find out.
Agreed. Totally agree.
But his little creature will like nestle in on his chest,
Okay.
like mostly sleeping, but then like doing little like every once in a while.
So, is there anything you are particularly studying or focusing on before you drift off?
I think that I am just trying to like I, I know that for mechanics purposes a spell is a spell, but I think that he's working on his precise diction, like the somatic components and the ways in which hands are moved. Like he's trying to present it not just with as much precision to cast a spell,
Okay.
but make it look and seem magnificent while he's doing so.
Gotcha. Go ahead and give me a sleight of hand check.
Sleight of hand.
Yep. Give me a sleight of hand.
Not amazing. +0. Okay, 6.
Okay. After the day's events, you find it difficult to focus. Reading the book allows you to refocus yourself. There's still nagging questions about this place that kind of cause you to drift off into a very unsettling sleep. And it's a bit fitful at first as you drift off into your long rest. Anybody else want to do anything before they take their long rest?
Yeah, so Dara is going to, because she's drunk, because she's also, been in, co-ed situations before, just oblivious to the fact she's the only woman in this room. She's just going to just disrobe, and then you're going to see that her body is just covered in scars, like everywhere. There's so many scars all over. She has a brand of something that you wouldn't maybe not recognize, kind of just below her collarbone on the right side. And as she realizes like her tunic falls down, she's gonna like pull it up and cover that and then get into bed.
Okay. As you do that, Harrow, just before you slip off to sleep, you do recognize that brand. Your passive is high enough to pick up on that. That slaver brand is familiar to you because you've seen that particular part of an you've seen those particular slavers out in the wild before. They are part of a series of smaller organizations that raid during certain seasonal times. And I'll say that because she's heavily scarred, you pick up on the fact that she may have been a slave at one point herself. And that kind of contributes to your fitful sleep as you kind of roll over and tuck Gristle kind of closer into your kind of armpit and settle down. Somni, Grayson, what are you two doing before you go into your long rest? And I'll say, Grayson and Somni, both of you would have picked up on Dara's condition, just not the emblem.
But
Sorry, go ahead.
I make no comment on it, other than a mild blush at the fact that this woman just undressed in front of me. I try to make another flower and hope that Somni doesn't crush this one. Tucked next to where this little creature is sleeping on Harrow, and I try to specifically make savory, which apparently is a flower. It's like little green leaves and little tiny white flowers. Did I look up what a bunch of flowers mean and their meanings, and I'm going to use that a lot with this character? Yes.
Excellent.
Okay. Is there a particular place or area that you're doing that, or are you just creating it?
I'm trying to like tuck it into basically like what would be like the little hands or whatever of this creature. Hopefully while it's not paying attention and after he's fallen asleep. So I'll probably be one of the last people up.
Okay, go ahead and give me stealth and sleight of hand, please.
stealth is not great. That's a 9. Sleight of hand is a 17.
Okay. As you get closer to where Haro has fallen asleep, and you're attempting to create this flower and put it into the creature's hand, at first it kind of hisses and its tongue kind of goes in your direction. Its toothy maw, little tiny razor sharp teeth, kind of like hisses and bites at you. But then its head tilts and looks at what you're trying to give it, and it watches you put the flower in its hand, and it kind of sniffs at it, and then just kind of like takes one of the petals and goes. He watches its face softens, and it goes, and just eats it. And then it just kind of sniffs at your hand and sniffs at you and starts crawling towards you across a sleeping Harrow's back, like, wants more treats.
Took on that reaction, are you?
That wasn't a nice snack.
Unfortunately, Harrow and Grayson, you're a little bit laggy.
Whatever it is
okay.
you are doing consistently.
Not what I was aiming for. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, and it just kind of looks at you and sees that you don't have any more, and it kind of turns around and kind of takes its little wings and its little lizard self and kind of burrows back and gets underneath Arrow's arm and kind of pokes its head up and looks at you. Pokes it back down, pokes it back up again.
Oh, did the lag kill the flowers?
Say that again. I think the internet is rebelling against you, Shannon.
Does not like
Did the
flowers
lag
at all.
kill the fact that when this thing looks... Yes, very bad
It's
right now.
becoming quite difficult.
When
Yes.
the
I have lost Shannon. I think LA's internet has been swallowed whole.
Burbank's internet's all right.
Inland Empire is okay.
And so is Long Beach.
I love their frozen faces, though. It's pretty cool. And there they go. Hopefully, we will have them back. We're going to take a quick break, give them some time. Oh, wait. Maybe?
It looks like
Take the break.
Yeah,
the
well,
placement
well-
as well.
Oh, there's Harrow coming back. Oh, no, it'll be fine once they're back. There's Harrow. Once,
We're in the same box.
there we go.
There we go.
And Grayson's coming back. The internet's.
Where's my print screen key?
Yeah, that would have been great. The frozen look that they both had
Yeah.
before dropping. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the joys of playing remote. We know how hard it is. It's not a perfect science, but we aims to try and please. So with that,
And misbehave.
Grayson, unfortunately, I couldn't hear anything you said before you cut out. Is there anything you want to say before you settle into your long rest?
Yeah. What I was saying was when the creature started eating the flower, I said that that's not what I was aiming for, but if it seems interested, I'll just keep making it flowers.
Yeah, it seemed very interested, very happy with it. I mean, you definitely influenced it to a certain degree. And you spend the next few minutes kind of feeding it some of those magical flowers that you that you craft for it. And eventually you earn its trust a little bit. It kind of nuzzles into your hand every time it's empty. And then it seems disinterested after a while and kind of, makes a little lizard-like yawn and goes back over to Haro and kind of curls up and begins to drift off to sleep. Somni, anything you want to do before heading off to your long rest?
Perhaps the conjuring and showing of whatever power it is that you're using is not the best idea here in the city.
Do you say that to her?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then I go to bed.
Why?
No answer.
Fair enough. Grayson, you are actually the last one up as you watch Somni crawl into his.
There was an answer, but the internet.
Well, no, Somni doesn't reply. He just says maybe that's not a good idea. And then when you said something, he just kind of ignored it with, just kind of like a cautious kind of look on his face and drifts off to his portion of the sleeping chamber. Grayson, you eventually drift off to sleep as well. As for the four of you, for the first time, not only do you get to sleep in safety, there's not this impending dread as you slip off to sleep. It's a bit of a fitful sleep at first because you're not really used to this environment. The fact that to get here required you to do things that either you knew you had to do or potentially felt, it's necessary. It may be necessary, but it doesn't necessarily dissuade everybody's guilt equally because everybody's experience was unique while having to earn that citizenship. I would say, so Somni, give me a charisma save, please, as you are now in your deep, deep sleep.
And just so you know, I'm fairly certain we don't dream, but that's a 17.
Oh, and we lost Shannon again.
Yeah, we don't. I don't believe we dream, Kalishtar.
Fair enough.
But I did roll 17 for the charisma save.
Okay.
throw.
Grayson will be back shortly. I'm certain of it. We'll say as you drift off into your transit state that you often find yourself going into, that meditative state. Never really sleeping, never really dreaming. You tend to be more aware, and this meditative state allows you to recalibrate, refocus, and understand better, reaffirming your relationship with Sinfoneus. And it's in this meditative state you feel a voice drift into your head. Very telepathic, very much familiar. You recognize this voice of Pharaoh, the Drake rider who had been part of the entrance into this place. And you hear her voice. I thought I recognized you when you were talking amongst your friends. I took the oath of memory, and that voice is known to me.
Indeed.
Truly, the suit has become desperate to send another here. Maybe at some point tomorrow, me and you should speak.
As you wish it.
Give me an insight check.
All right, insight is something that I'm just okay at. 12.
Well,
Yep.
Taking the oath of memory means that you would have been part of the ceremony sending a Templar out into the wastes. As you're not allowed to know each other's faces, you're forced to commit the sound and phonics of each other's voices to memory. This one definitely sounds familiar to you. You remember maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, this particular voice was sent out into the wastes. It was thought that this voice was lost, and the reveal of her physical self during the reveal ceremony should have happened, but there was still hope that perhaps she was still alive and just had maybe managed to get into a position that was difficult for her to communicate with the rest of the Templar. This kind of makes a little bit of sense to you, because clearly being allowed to fly the Drake and being allowed to participate in the citizenship ceremony, there was maybe even just a hint of humor in the conversation. And maybe that is kind of explaining why that Duragar was finally revealed and taken care of. This helps you settle and feel more confident in your understanding. Grayson, your sleep is very fitful. It's very hard for you to get into your meditative state, because being elf in nature, whether it be drow or highborn, elves themselves never truly need the traditional concept of sleep. The meditation is really all you require. You do see a kind of similar kind of facade coming and emanating from Somni, as he is also in a kind of meditative state as well. Your meditation, however, centers on that vision of when you drank the concoction at the ceremony, the idea that finding this place, this way of getting your people to safety and into a new existence and away from this rotten and dead world, it means something. There's a purpose here. There's something about it that makes sense. You're not sure what it is yet, whether it's revealed itself. As the vision had stated earlier, not all things are present and not all things are known, but all things do exist. For you, Dara, it's the best sleep you've had in a very long time. Being out and perpetually on the run is always something that has been difficult and exhausting and physically and mentally demanding. You have had to do things that you're definitely not proud of to get to this point. But getting here at the cost and the blood of wiping out a slaver's champion is somewhat gratifying. There's this feeling of the first step in a very long climb to finally defeating these slave lords. It may be rough, it may be difficult, but perhaps these individuals have fallen into your existence for a reason. And even though they're either meditative or asleep, very slight, toothy smile as you roll over, and for the first time in a very long time, you drift off into a safe sleep, knowing that perhaps no one's actually going to try to kill you while you sleep. The feeling of shackles, not on your ankles or wrists, the lash ripping your skin apart, fades into this deep, settling sleep. Harrow, give me a wisdom save, please. What'd you roll? Your microphone is not working, my friend. Either you're muted or 21. And the technical gremlins keep rolling.
I
Can you
intimidate
hear
the
me?
gremlins. Yes, we can.
Now we can, yes.
Hello. And
Can
welcome
you
back.
hear me?
Now we
Welcome
can,
back,
yes.
I believe I'm still strongly delayed, but the answer is natural 1.
Oh.
The answer is 42.
That
Nice.
is the answer.
Your sleep is practically non-existent for you. You take a point of exhaustion through the night
What?
as you are incapable of staying asleep. You even purposely ignored Grayson's interaction with your creature, as through the entire night, this harbinging, poisonous-like energy kind of touches and nips at you through the night. You feel the energy coalesce around you, pulling at you, shifting you, causing your eyes to like burn and dry out. And every now and then you wake up to try to resettle and get back to sleep. This energy is pulling at you from the very center of the city. You get the gist of the direction it's coming from. There is a conduit here that you've never experienced before. It is pulling at your magical nature. It's pulling at your magical essence. As you feel just a little bit of what makes up your magical existence slightly drain away from you. And with the inability to fall back asleep, give me a insight check, please. With disadvantage because you are currently exhausted.
No, the first one I rolled was a 20. Okay, all right, still solid. Still solid, but a -1 with my insight. That is a 14.
You get the sense that individuals in this city that are of a magical, arcanic understanding are being purposely tapped into. That whatever these highborns are using to maintain their magical hold on this city could possibly be suffering from something, and they are now being forced to tap into arcane-centric individuals that seem to have a very unique arcane existence. And you get this sense of dread that if you don't figure this... Yeah, you get this sense of dread that if you don't figure this out, being in this city could be very difficult.
I am both horrified and deeply intrigued by the concept that one could pull the magical power from a person to fuel something.
And with that, the long rest ends. One by one, all of you begin to stir. All three of you begin to wake up. And looking at Harrow, you see very sunken in eyes, a pallor, and almost like a sense that maybe Harrow did not get any sleep the previous night. He seems very disconnected and very much concerned. There is visible concern on his face as all of you come to the following morning. You are now on day 2 of your 30-day forced existence with each other. What would you like to do?
Well, I mean, the concern on his face of what we can
Well,
see
we're
of his face. Um,
I'm sorry, I think I'm lagging horribly.
Yes. even
No, it sounded like
even
you were trying to
Grayson's
say
like,
something, so I stopped.
yes.
If it is on me, then I will prepare to do exactly what I thought I was going to do because Hera was incredibly stubborn.
Okay.
And as he gets up and puts on his like ceremonial robes and such again, he will be preparing to go to the warrant office.
Okay. The rest of you, what are you doing with your time?
Preparing
I'm
for a
probably trying to
meeting.
get rid of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, please.
I was like probably not being pleased at this new sensation of a headache and feeling drained. It comes over me waking up.
Fair enough.
Did one of you hit me? Did I hit my head?
In a manner of speaking.
More or less.
Yeah. So would we notice, would we be able to see Hera's face, or he'd have his mask on? Would we be able to see how like gaunt and not
No,
dressed in
at best, his physical appearance would be somewhat kind of like physically, like he just not quite his normal energetic self. You would be able to see the interior of his eyes through the mask that would be bloodshot and clearly the feeling like he would look tired just through his eyes themselves. But other than that, you're not really sure what the issue is.
Very weak body language.
Indeed.
So I'm gonna look at Gray and be like, "Does he look okay to you? You're better at that stuff."
I mean this in the least offensive way possible. It doesn't really look like you slept.
And what concern is that of yours?
Well, I mean, if you're exhausted, you could, I don't know, get yourself in trouble and get hurt.
I'll be fine. I haven't come this far to sit around all day sleeping while there's opportunities to be had. I spent my entire life, more or less, trying to find my way into this city.
Oh, okay. If you don't want help, then I won't help, but I can help if you'd like it.
And how might you be able to help?
Can I touch your shoulder?
My opinion on such hasn't stopped you before. Why start now? All yours.
I'm trying to improve.
Guidance.
No, I'll tap his shoulder and cast Lesser Restoration.
Oh,
Ooh, busting out the big
nice.
guns.
You feel that energy pour into you. The exhaustion fades. You definitely feel better. That whatever Grayson's capabilities are, they're pretty significant. You definitely feel like you've had that long rest you needed, and there's a bit of a warmth kind of. There's a strange feeling when Grayson does this. It's you don't know if that feeling is trust or, like a symbiote kind of why do this? I don't understand. I mean, do I pay? What do I do when someone does something like this? It's a bit confusing. Because being part of the nomadic tribes, it's always been you want this, it costs this. You want this, it costs this. And there's never really been that sense of trust, but there's a bit of that here. This is the second time that Grayson has reached out to you to build that tenet of trust. And it's a little unusual. You complete putting yourself together, your ceremony, your creature kind of flies over to land on your shoulder. Somni appears to be getting his gear and accoutrements together to join you. Dara and Grayson, it would appear that Somni and Harrow are beginning to make their way to go back up into the tavern area. What are you two going to do with your morning?
If I see a look of hesitation after doing that, I would just say, it sounded like you had stuff that you needed to do, and it sounded like it might be important. So just pat.
Okay.
I appear to have underestimated you. That was incorrect of me. Please do call on me if there is something that my more destructive talents might do to aid you.
So
Just sounded
Somni,
vigorous.
Just
nodding.
swearing debts in my mind.
Somni, are you going with Harrow upstairs?
I am indeed.
Okay. So the two of you exit the common room. Dara and Grayson, what are you doing?
Yeah, I would follow him for now. Kind of see what everyone's doing today. Kind of figure out if we should kind of travel together, do separate stuff. But she does have kind of some stuff she wants to eventually do, kind of
Okay.
nearby.
Grayson, what are you doing?
These people seem like they know what they're doing and where they're going. So I feel compelled to look competent as well.
Give me deception with double disadvantage.
Nice.
I'm kidding.
What is double disadvantage?
Is that 3 dice or
Wow.
4?
Yeah, how do you do that? I want to know how this concept works.
Honestly, though, like for double disadvantage, I got a 17, a 15, and a 10. So
That's
like,
pretty
not the
damn good.
worst.
Yeah, I mean, watching the three of them leave and staring at this place and realizing that day one is gone and day two has just begun. What does all this mean? And you follow a few feet behind them as the four of you are making your way up from the 4th level to the 3rd level. Could you please all make perception checks?
Indeed. Let's roll.
That is a dirty 20.
Okay.
13.
Where
Okay.
are you, Sam?
Hello, dog.
Perception for Somni. 11. I am number 1 twice.
24.
What'd you get, Dara?
Oh, I got a dirty 20.
Oh, yeah, you got the dirty 20. Grayson, what'd you get?
24. I took a picture of my stats and stuff for the record so I don't have to have the website open.
Gotcha. No, I get that. I mean, I know that D&D Beyond can be a real bandwidth hog, so I totally get that. For you, Grayson, since you're the last one in the group, as everybody else gets up to the 3rd level catwalk, and you are kind of following behind as they're all trying to make their way up, there's a very distinct grunting noise coming from the door that you're walking by, almost like somebody getting heavily like either hit or forced in such a way. There's a bit of like a scuffling noise as well. And as the three are now beginning to go up to the 2nd, catwalk, there's a muted kind of scream, like muffled scream coming from behind the door as well. You're not sure what it means. It sounds forced, like somebody is in trouble. But in fact, for you, it sounds very much like somebody's in trouble.
That's the key words you've said there, that somebody is in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, you could hear the
Obviously.
panic. You could hear the muted kind of like terror in the muted scream. Something is going on behind that door.
Kicking the door down.
Oh my.
So give me a athletics check, please.
This is gonna go poorly. A solid 11.
You go to kick the door and you just feel your ankle and shin collapse underneath the weight of whatever's got this door closed. The three of you hear this like heavy kicking sound, like this crashing sound. And the three of you look down from the stairwell leading up to the next tier, and you can see that Grayson has stopped to turn, and she's banging and kicking on a door at this point.
Dara turns right back around and goes over there because Grayson is doing a thing and she needs to help.
Okay.
Yes, they do seem to have demonstrated some degree of usefulness over the past couple of days. I'll go back as well.
Okay. Somni?
What a endorsement.
Have a
That
degree
is
of
a high-
usefulness.
That is a high degree of praise from Harrow.
Somni, so you watch as the other two go back towards where Grayson is now attempting to kick in a door. What are you doing? Uh-oh, did I lose Somni? Did Long Beach get swallowed up by the internet?
Oh no.
Oh no.
What is going
doing-
on?
He's doing his resting adventure face.
Good Lord.
Yeah,
I
it's hard
mean,
to tell.
I'm glad I'm on a hard line now because no one can make fun of my. It's hard to tell. I was waiting for someone else to say it.
Um, should we wait a bit for somebody?
I would say, Dara and Harrow, the two of you make your way over to where Grayson is. Grayson, you're frantically trying to get this door down. Somni is like hesitating. He's up on the stairwell, kind of looking up, looking down. He seems to be in like almost like an Overwatch position. He's like keeping an eye on things. He
What character from
points.
Overwatch?
You actually watch as he points at the moat that is now peeked out up at the top, reminding you kind of whatever you do, don't let that moat see you do it. And there he goes.
So Grayson did not get the door down, correct?
No,
Or
she
did-
tried. She tried, but she
Okay,
could
so-
not get it down.
I would see that were not successful in getting the door down, and I'm just gonna trust as a good reason Grayson's kicking a door down, so I'm gonna then try to kick the door down for them.
Okay, go ahead and give me athletics,
I would
please.
vocalize that it seems like there's a struggle going on. I
Fair
would
enough.
just silently start kicking down the door.
Okay,
That is an 18. if it was
18.
straight.
You watch as the
Yeah.
shale surface cracks and kind of falls away. The metal plate that the shale surface was attached to now has a huge dent, and you watch as like a small inch of the door kind of forms open. You can hear as that happens, you hear someone inside go, "Ah, ah, ah," and then a muffled sound like they're being purposely muffled at this point. Whatever is blocking this door is heavy and very well intended at this point.
Okay. Big guns, as it was said. I will rear back, and as I do so, cast spiritual weapon in the shape of a hammer. And I know this is not how it actually works, but I'm going to use it as flavor and slap this door with a spiritual weapon.
Fair enough. Go ahead and give me an attack roll. And for those of you still hanging on with us, Somni has lost his camera, so we're hoping he'll make it back before the end of excuse me, before the end of the show.
Meanwhile, we have formed a sort of jigsaw.
Yes.
with our faces.
One of the challenges of playing
does a-
remote.
Does a dirty 20 hit the AC of door?
Roll for damage, please.
$12.
12. You guys watch as Grayson brings his hammer into existence, and almost through sheer will of its form, brings it into the door. Shrack! Seemingly able to crack the remaining resistance of the door. The door itself, the metal peeling apart and falling over something. As the door comes off of its hinge and falls over, you see a rather large-looking, bent-over, orcish form. Looking up as the three of you are right there in the door jamb. Across the way is the familiar young lady that was working up on the previous tavern. In this common room, you can see 2 Arafanian humans off to the right, dressed in heavy armaments. You see 3 additional orcs off to the left. The female barmaid from before has been gagged and lashed with some kind of either amalgamation of chain and hemp rope, and been very severely trussed up. For you, Dara, give me a quick perception check.
That is an 11.
Yeah, there's something familiar about one of them. The coloration of what they're wearing, you've seen before, but you can't quite put your finger on it. The one holding the trussed up barmaid looks across and says, "What are you lot doing here? Mind your business and be off.
What are you doing to her?
We're taking her to the judiciary. She was found with this." One of them is holding the necklace and the talisman hanging from it. You hear Somni's voice. "What's going on in there?"
These gentlemen say that they're taking this woman to meet the judiciary.
"What woman?" And you watch as
Is it-
Somni comes to the end of the like the end of the stairwell, sees the one Arafanian holding the necklace that he recognizes. You watch as, with like a blur, Somni's weapon is in his hand, and he just utters, "That's it. I've minded what I can, but this is enough." And he immediately charges into the room with his hammer held high above his head. And that's where we're going to
Oh, I'm
finish
after him.
tonight. Yeah, that's where we're going to finish tonight because of technical glitches and losing Kevin and whatever the technical gods are going to throw at us. We're going to wrap up a little bit early because I don't want Kevin to miss too much of what we're leading into. So Sunday, Basilica of the Cudgel. Friday nights, 7 to 10, is Age of Arcanum. That is not Grayson, but it still looks cool. Thank you for centering it. So one of the things we're going to do tonight, we are going to, I think I'll have either Dan or Shannon roll in the Avery channel in Discord. I'm going to do math here and count, as we're going to give away a Nightmare Dragon tonight, one of the Pathfinder cut collections, which I love. I think they're pretty cool. So, going here.
I just appreciate that setup. We're going to give away a nightmare.
Yes,
dragon.
a nightmare. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Can we give away our
and-
technical nightmares?
I know, right? Right? Isn't it always the case? I've got a 6 and a 7.
How about the flaming horse?
Flaming Horrors? Are they at the Iron Fist? It's a fist mail or whatever that was.
Oh,
Got an
I was
8.
thinking of the
So-
nightmare, the creature.
Tonight's actually going to be easy. Go ahead and throw a D8 into the channel.
Would you like to run that one, Shannon, as I'm less familiar?
Yeah, and we can use any channel, right? And it's the exclamation point roll.
Correct. Ooh, a 1. That is going to be
Number 1.
That is actually going to be Haijamai Uki, however you pronounce that. You have just won the Nightmare Dragon miniature that was in our giveaway for tonight. We do plan on doing miniatures probably every night moving forward. For those of you that have been patient with our technology challenges tonight, I really do appreciate it. more importantly, my players. I know that both Dan and Shannon were having their issues. Then eventually Long Beach was swallowed up by the great internet dragon that seems to be eating all of Southern California tonight.
As legend foretold.
So as always, find our Discord in the chat. It's also under our about. Come and join us. We do have what's really fun with our Discord. So here's the main thing that I kind of want to help people understand why we do our Discord. Times are rough. Not everybody can really afford to play D&D right now. COVID has forced us to be remote, and playing remote, as you can see here, can be a challenge. We have issues that pop up from time to time. However, if you, and a reminder for Hajime Yuki, please PM me when you get a chance, or send a message to RPG Chronicles, and we'll get your information and get that mailed out to you. But on our Discord, if you have your own game that you want to run, you have a group that's not been able to play because you're unsure about running a remote game, we will actually set up your own channel. We'll help walk you through how to do it remotely. I have 3 of the Groovy bots. I have the Avre bot. I also have the Avre bot has access to our full license of all the rules. We also have the ability for you to set up events to remind your players what time and what day to play. We are currently running anywhere from 7 to 9 campaigns on a fairly regular basis. I'm running 6 myself. Ian is running one as well. He's running a couple. And we're always looking for more DMs or narrators. And we're not meant to be D&D centric. This is just what's kind of launched our opportunity for us. Since we're all playing remotely anyways, we kind of want to share the nature of being an RPG player. So if you're a GURPS player, or if you're Werewolf or Mage the Ascension, or other styles of game that you like to play, all are welcome to play on our Discord. It is a level 3 boosted Discord, so it's considered a development Discord. We are able to follow announcements from other Discords as we kind of expand the community as much as we can. So Friday night, Age of Arcanum, be sure to subscribe or join the Discord. Sunday night, 6 to 9 o'clock is Basilica of the Cudgel, another remote game coming from Kevin Hit Studios. I myself and Shannon are both in that game. I play Rumblebelly. She plays Helena.
Hello.
So with that, please, everybody, subscribe, like, love us, do what you can to help us. And for Hajime Yuki, congratulations. Yeah, I know. I appreciate that. We will get that off to you as soon as I get your mailing information. But thank you all for joining us tonight and being patient with our technical challenges. And we will see you all next Friday, or some of us will see you Sunday night. So stay safe, be kind to each other, and for crying out loud, just play a game. Have some fun. See you, everybody. Thank you.
Have a good one.
And I believe we are out. So that was fun.
All right.
The internet demons were definitely on top of us all.
I
Yeah,
did
our
have a
internet
great
has been
time
like
actually playing
really,
the game, though.
really bad the past few days. It's like stable, but when it drops, like it's full green everything, but when it drops, it's red.
Right. No, I gotcha. No. Fair enough. No, and look, I mean, this whole challenge of the internets and playing remotely, it's one of the reasons why I want to stay on Discord and do it, because I want, like, if I scroll up, there's a Friday night game playing right now, including one with my girlfriend. The Driving Rain is playing right now. I want people to understand that, yeah, it's hard, it's kind of a pain, but if you're missing that community and missing that feeling of being in a game, and everything that we're going through right now is pretty, it's pretty common with the start of a new campaign. Not everybody's familiar with each other. What do we do? How do we do it? Different interpretations of how to play the game. One of the things that I would say you don't need to do, you don't need to tell me that you're doing something. Just do it. Just let it flow. If I know Grayson or Harrow or Dara is doing something, if you're speaking, I know what you're doing. If you're describing something about yourself so that the others pick up on it, that's totally different. But, you don't need to say, well, Harrow's going to say this or Dara's going to say this. Just do it. I'm a very RP friendly storyteller. I'm encouraging RP all the time, and I know with the start of a game, it can be a challenge. It's trying to figure out, each other's play style. And I know Shannon and Dan, you're familiar because you play lots of different games together. I play with Shannon all the time, and I know her love of the RP. I'm not overly familiar with how Alyssa and Dan play. And you'll notice for me, I'll do a lot of pauses and hesitations where I'm just waiting for you to tell me what you're doing. Now, I know when we have when we're having technical challenges, I know that makes it more difficult.